And we are live, and I'm going to try this. It didn't work yesterday, and I'm going to try it today. And y'all tell me if it's working.
And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
And Sir Michael's here.
I'm here.
And Michael, that was a test yesterday on my podcast. My videos weren't playing. Did you see that?
I did, and I heard it. I saw it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
How about people? Okay. Gary's here.
Play it again. Play it again.
Luke, oh, play it again?
Yeah. Replay.
Yeah. Here, it all got me all thrown off. Okay, add to the stage. And what was it?
Joe says it's working.
Exactly the way God made you. To every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
Ooh.
Okay. I'm with that guy.
What?
So, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very good, and better every day. How are you?
Doing better. Been battling a nasty thing here for a couple weeks. So my voice is not what it was. But yeah, yesterday my videos weren't going through, so not sure why. Some newfangled things on the production end, but
technical difficulties, huh?
Yeah. So the address, what'd you think?
I was shocked. I don't know if shocked. Maybe that's overkill. Oops, sorry. There's this banner thing that I always forget. It carries over.
Oh yeah.
It surprised me later when I found out it was the longest address ever, right, in history. Like an hour,
over an hour and a half, 45
40 minutes, something like that. And I'm telling you, he could have kept going. It was riveting. It was entertaining. It was glorious. It was momentous. It was just I mean, there was a lot of real standout lines. I'm telling you, the first one was his timing. He's an entertainer, right? He just has this natural cadence, ability, comedic timing, and instincts, right? He's just got really good instincts. And so the first big line that I imagine being in the room, because he delivered the punch just perfectly. It was, with this border thing, everybody told us, we just needed some new legislation, and all we needed was dramatic pause, a new president. Boom! The room just exploded, and there is nothing anybody can argue against that. He didn't do anything that any other president could have done. Like, right. He didn't do. There was nothing in the way of stopping the flood of crime, right? The flood of criminal activity.
Congress couldn't have done.
The law, it's already, you don't need anybody but the executive branch to act, right?
Well, that's true.
You just act. This your job is to defend the executive's priority is to defend the nation. That means the border, right? And so,
no, that's true. It is on the executive to enforce that. Yeah.
Yep. So all you needed was a new president. Boom. So, and then another first was the first time the Speaker of the House has had to gavel, Sergeant at Arms, remove.
I know. And it was Al Green. He's used to be my favorite singer, man.
So
let's stay together, Al.
Familiar. I thought that name was familiar. I'm like, that. It's like that guy's making a bad name for that.
Yeah.
That name.
But Yeah, I thought that was that was pretty interesting. The
Well,
optics were quite stark, weren't they? And striking.
yes. In fact, the optics, and we were talking about this morning with Mr. Tenaple, is I'm grateful to you, Joel, because years ago, maybe 4 years ago, you 3 or 4 years ago, you recommended a YouTuber named Steve Turley
Right.
to me, and I'm so grateful because he's my go-to now. Like that's literally aside from Doug Wilson, the pastor
Right.
out of Moscow, Idaho, Doug Wilson and Steve Turley are my two top go-to. Even before Tucker Carlson, I'll go to Steve Turley, right? And I need to memorize some of the terminology that he uses. That he says, forget what it is. There's a thing that happens when you swap out meritocracy for identity politics. When merit is no longer how you gauge success, or advance people. When you start advancing people based on their immutable characteristics like their skin color or their gender, right? When that happens, when you set aside people's abilities and achievements by virtue of that change, by elevating people because of certain mutable characteristics, you actually get the dumbest people in power, right? You literally get you go from the most accomplished, most achieved, most intelligent to the stupidest and the most idiotic. And every time that camera would cut to the Democrat side, I'm like, yeah, I see it. Like they're acting like children. They're acting like babies, like junior hires. Let's fold up signs. Let's put up these signs and protest this Hitler, right? They're like, this guy is the next.
Yeah.
It's like that's the level of intellect. Like, they can't articulate a rational argument. They just, I don't know, they stomp their feet and cry and complain. And it's like,
or sit on their hands, because I want to show you something. This is exactly something that Hitler would do right here.
To the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
I got emotional. I'm getting emotional now.
Yeah.
But I got emotional at this moment.
But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago.
Do you see that?
That time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Now, Michael, isn't that just something Hitler
Evil.
would do?
Right? Evil. Right? Unbelievable.
But did you see those two?
Wasserman,
Mr. Longman,
Wasserman Schultz or whatever. Yeah.
they were angry. They were
Scowling.
indignant.
I love that the
Scowling.
camera cut to them. I love that
Yes.
the camera went straight to them just for a sec, just to get that moment.
How can you not? It's just this derangement. It is. It's derangement. Trump derangement syndrome.
Bad optics. They're collapsing. Right. Here's. I just read this morning that Act Blue is collapsing. Like they're panicked and abandoning. Like all the top lawyers from Act Blue, all the heads of Act Blue are fleeing. You know,
I'm hearing rumors that our beloved governor has reversed himself on men and women's sports. Have you heard that?
Well,
I haven't had a chance to look into it this morning, but
that's on my radar
Okay.
because I'm glad you're going there. I'm glad we're going there because, yeah. So apparently he interviewed Charlie Kirk, or Charlie Kirk interviewed him, and so I haven't watched the interview, but actually Doug said he did watch some of that, and it went to that, and Charlie was brought that topic up, and Gavin was like, "Yeah, it's about fairness," and so the LGBTQ alphabet soup are very angry with Gavin Newsom, and the reason that brings a little bit of solace and joy to my heart, and you and I, as we are subjects of Governor Newsom. My daughter is an athlete. She's a senior in high school, and I just read an article last week because it's track season. My daughter's my youngest child is a senior in high school, is a track athlete. She's medaled in CIF from freshman year all the way up.
here comes the bragging, folks.
Yeah,
Here comes the bragging.
Hey, I'm a papa. I'm a proud papa.
Oh, I understand.
She has medaled in CIF as a freshman, so she's medaled every season. And then I just read an article about a school. I looked it up on the map. In the article, it had the high school name. I looked it up. It's 30 miles for 30 minutes, 36-minute drive from here. So it's in the Southern California Conference, whatever. There's a new athlete that's a triple jumper. That's my daughter's main event, triple jump.
Wow.
There's a triple jumper that that came in first by 8 feet. Like 8 feet. Oh, yeah, trans. It's a girl beating all the other girls by 8 feet. 40-foot triple jump is kind of middle of the road for a high school boy. My son was also a triple jumper, and he's jumped above the 40-foot mark. But 40-foot for a girl is like state champion level. Right. The best in the state are getting in the low 40s. And this one, just first time out of the chute, like, I'm going to go triple jump. I'm going to be a girl and go triple jump. Beat the second place was 32 feet, 40 feet, like 8 foot. So I'm like, oh, great. I knew that in California that had already been an issue in other events in track and field. I hadn't really seen it at any of the meets that I went to, but now it's my daughter's event. I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to go to when they have the big meets, and that is just, am I now going to encounter this person? But Gavin Newsom, there may be hope. But he act now.
He wants to be president in 4 years.
Yeah.
And he can't. America's different now. Things are different.
Yeah. He's finger to the wind. Uh-oh.
Well, you know, and it's like I talked about the optics. I talked about this yesterday. I think the historic moment last year, because I talked about the religious landscape in America last year, and the study the Pew Research Center did, and it was on how the decline in Christianity has leveled off, and the growth of the nuns, the people that have no affiliation, has leveled off. And then it talked about the political leanings of people with faith versus people without, and how people of faith are leaning more conservative. And I think what happened was that debate with Biden and Trump last year, when he was so bad, it shocked America out of its denial. And it also showed very clearly, this is what the Democratic Party has put this candidate up there. And he's completely mentally gone, but yet they're putting him up there. And that kind of shook everyone up. And of course,
Open some eyes.
when Trump took the bullet and said, fight, 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 those are two things were earth shattering to me. And those two things optically changed the country. The scales fell from our eyes and everyone was able to see. And then everybody had permission to say, hey, wait a minute. This really is happening. I don't like this. And all the, slippery slope and all that stuff, warnings of these angry conservatives now all of a sudden make sense. So now we have permission, social proof to listen to people like Trump and all these things. And I'm just wondering if it's going to go the other way. If religious affiliation leads to conservatism, I'm wondering if this through the avenue of politics, can this lead people to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe there's something to this faith? Because look what's happening with these people with no faith, and I think the optics last night just added to that. I'm like, wait a minute, you can't even, you're sitting there indignantly at a child who beat brain cancer, who's obviously very limited in his life, but yet he just wants to be a police officer. He's got a police officer's uniform and a badge on, and his dad is holding him up, and he just got sworn into the Secret Service, and you are indignant? What in the world is going on?
They're trapped in a vicious cycle, right? They're in this, because they're surrounded by true believers, right? The leftist politicians, they will only, we saw this when Kamala wouldn't go on Joe Rogan.
Right.
It was because of her inner circle would be traumatized, right? That was what the reports came out, that they couldn't fathom, they couldn't reconcile that she would go talk to a Hitler patsy, right? That in their minds, because they've bought that lie, they can't operate, right? They can't operate normally. So the politicians are surrounded by these yes people that are true believers, but they don't realize that group is shrinking in the masses. That group is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, but they're still surrounded by them. And the longer they hold on, the worse it gets for them. And the testimonies have come. I've already heard one testimony of a lifelong Democrat that watched that speech that was aghast at her own people that decided, I'm not going to be a Democrat anymore. I heard that. It's anecdotal, but it's an example of what you're talking about. And then I personally talked to a friend of mine yesterday on the phone who, is with us, but his wife had been kind of aloof, right? And I think they're Catholic. They're believers, but I think they're Catholic, and just kind of going through the motions, going through business. And she would always kind of write off her husband's, talk, about politics, because he's involved with politics. And she was just like, move on to the next topic. One of those, a believer who's just living life in this normalcy bias bubble. And he told me, when she saw Donald Trump stand up and fling 3-4 Secret Service officers off of him and throw up his fist in his, like, that natural impulse reaction, you cannot deny this man is all in for the good of America. He said that moment, it was like the shoe dropped for her, and she was suddenly, all of his dialogue and all the things, she was suddenly engaged. It was like a change in their marriage and a change in their life, where she totally understood and made the personal decision to start focusing more on faith. What can we do in our lives with our capacities to advance Christianity and faith? It was so, it's these stories are happening in, all over. We're living in a monumental, it's a wonderful day to be alive, to be witnessing what we're witnessing.
Right. Oh, yeah, that is, yeah. And I guess video wasn't showing again, so we'll have to fix that. Sorry, guys, on our production.
So they were not seeing.
So apparently you and I can see it and they can't. So, but we'll have to figure that out with Gina. But anyways, if you saw the show or the speech, it was when as I said, the young boy was given Secret Service credentials, and it was fantastic. So, and even then, and you were talking about the men and women's sports. The young girl that was hit in the face with the volleyball was there, and So and that hits home with me. Our daughter was a very good. I'm going to brag a little on our daughter. She was MVP of her field hockey team, CIF champion. So I get a little bragging too.
Nice.
But there was a boy that wanted to go out for the team at her school, and this was 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they put their foot down. They just weren't going to have it. And this kid, and you'd have to know the kid, but he wasn't really serious, but he could have. And
Right.
but the girls went to him and put a stop to it, and that's what it had to be up until now. But women put a stop to this. People like Riley Gaines and the people that really stood up for this had to be the women that said, no, we're not having this. And but that's what it's got to be if this is going to work beyond Trump.
Yep.
And that's always my concern. What is coming beyond Trump? It can't all be, hey, this is what Trump's doing. Trump's only got a little less than 4 years. How are we going to make this permanent? What are your thoughts on that? How does this cultural moment, this revolution last?
I think Trump had 4 years to meditate on exactly what you're talking about. How does when I get back in, what can I do that will reverberate historically and remain, right? What things? Right. And for us to be less than 2 months in, and the radical thing, as of yesterday, the Department of Education is on the chopping block, is gone, right? It's like I listened to, again, Steve Turley yesterday. I listened to it twice. I need to listen to it again. But Steve Turley going through the history of the Department of Education. The Department of Education has been in existence less time than Roe versus Wade. Right. Roe versus Wade we had for 49 years. The Department of Education had only been in existence for 43 years or something like that. It was I
went through most of my education without it. I think my last 2 years of high school, I think it came in. I think Jimmy Carter put it in 1977, created it.
Yes,
so maybe
as a campaign promise, he was catering to certain the teachers, like teachers unions or whatever. He was catering to them. I'll make a Department of Education, but the history of the Department of Education, as Trump pointed out rightly, is that we spend the most per capita and are at the bottom. Right. So what has the Department of Education done? It should be called, and this is what Steve Turley said yesterday, it should be called the Department of Indoctrination. From day one, it was not teaching how to teach. It was teaching what. This is what you need to teach these kids. And it was all leftist. It's all been a leftist campaign of propaganda. So it's like, why do we need a Department of Education? It's just like the People's Liberation Army, right? You name something for propaganda purposes, like what could be wrong about liberating the people? It's like, that's how you control the people in China. It's the people's, it's the opposite. It's the people's enslavement army. But the Department of Education is the opposite of educating, because it took out, and I love what Steve was talking about, is education has long been, or is supposed to be, about creating virtuous people, not just informed people, not just knowledgeable people, but good people, right? And Department of Education, they take God out of the schools. It's like, how do you have virtue without what we're founded upon? This is a Christian nation. So to answer your question, will we feel the effects? Will there be long-term effects? I think you and I in our lifetimes will not see all the good that's coming from this, even the first few months of this administration. And furthermore, Elon Musk said, I think it was just yesterday, maybe the day before, he's looking at the electoral map going, I think we can get to 60 senators in the midterms, 60 Republican senators. So we're at 53. And, by the normal old way, the most possible projected is 55. But what Elon Musk, he wouldn't say that without a reason. He's not a guy that just says stuff. Right. He looks at the data, and he knows exactly the same way George Soros used data and
Right.
and hired people and put money into very specific locations and operations, Elon Musk can do the same thing and target Senate seats. So if that happens, so those are lasting impacts that, and furthermore, he's saying, and this looks like it's going to happen, and no electronic voting. Like
That would be huge.
making it against the law. And Elon Musk, I saw this clip just yesterday, him saying, I'm the tech guy of tech guys. He was practically saying, I am the tech guru, right?
Right.
That's kind of my
I
reputation.
am the science. Yes.
I am. And he goes, no electronic voting systems. He's like against it. Like from his point of view as a tech, he's like, yeah, no, this is not, it should be same day paper balloting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Liz Harris. I was harkening back to the Arizona investigation. It's like same day, the second Tuesday, or the first Tuesday of November. We need to, it's not this take a couple weeks, couple months to figure out who won. No, you can know. If your third world nations can figure out who won the elections on that same day, the most advanced nation in the history of nations can do it. And so these are things, permanent changes, and also taking out USAID and Act Blue. It turns out when corrupt people get into power, they only focus on staying in power. So they build institutions that will perpetuate that power. So they start funding their own through corrupt means. Now all those funding sources are drying up, right? So that's the kind of thing that has reverberations. You can destroy an institution that took decades to build, and that's what's happening. These institutions of corruption are falling by the wayside. So the future is bright, I'd say.
Yeah, no, that's what, and like I said, it's now, like I said, eyes being opened. It's just different now. I was thinking after our conversation last week of the email Elon Musk sent. I said there are now phrases that define American history. Give me liberty or give me death. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. What'd you do?
Tell me five things you did last week.
Those
defining
are the
phrases. It's good.
The defining phrases. I mean, that's what it's come to, but it's like now it's like, you mean we don't know what they did? We don't know what these people are doing, and yet they're taking billions and trillions of dollars of tax money. So things will be different because people's eyes have been open. But I am looking in the next 4 years to how this is going to perpetuate itself and who is going to take, because the Supreme Court kind of balked a little bit on the USAID, right? And so we need 60 senators, and we need a bigger margin in the House, and we need to replace Clarence Thomas with a good
somebody solid.
And about Republican presidents are about 50-50, batting about 500 on Supreme Court justices. So, not to be a half empty guy, but I see minefields that we have to navigate, but at least the scales are off people's eyes and the optics are finally coming through, and the optics can't be filtered for us anymore. The mainstream media doesn't have the monopoly. They can't just show us what they want to show us. We are now able to see these things, and people are getting more and more clarity on these things. So at least going forward, we have that. So, but
I'm the optimist, man.
I know you are.
I've been saying this, and now I'm like, told you so. No. But I mean, you're in good company because Doug. There's been a shift in him. Like he's like the pessimist and etc. And he's like wide eyes. Like I can't believe it. I can't believe what's happening. Irrefutably good things happening. Obviously, there's still bad things happening, but you gotta, the chemotherapy is very, very, very hard on the body, but it's you're going to take out some good cells with the bad cells and some, it's like, but it's essential for the survival of the organism.
I used to coach a little bit basketball and volleyball. And whenever we play a game and we were up on a team and they came back, I'd tell my players, you didn't think it'd be easy, did you?
Yeah,
You
right.
didn't think they were just going to roll over and die.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
there's no reason we can't beat this team, and there's no reason this can't.
When
change.
you look at the field, right? When you look at the two sides and you look at the stars, I was like, the Republicans got JD, like name them. Every person in the cabinet is like a figure that we recognize and know and trust, and like, wait, these are rock stars for the conservative movement. And then you look at the other side of that, I'm like, they got nobody that the country could take confidence in. All right, we're out of time.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Good to see you, my friend.
You too. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.